cut the budget a little bit. Start it off, Nancy.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. We have a PowerPoint, and what I did is from last week's meeting on Monday, I incorporated those changes, and we also sharpened our pencil a little bit more, and I'll go through those changes with you as well. So we could start off with just a summary of this is where we started with the requested budgets, where we were out. Had a shortfall of 3.5 million from what the projected revenues and what the expenditures were. I then adjusted some revenues based on the chief appraiser's presentation. So I increased revenues a bit for property taxes. And then also the budget committee cut 1.8 million. And we had a fund balance use for a shortfall of 1,585,285 to balance the budget. And then after last week's meeting, in addition to the 1.8 million, we actually cut another $980,982 out of the budget. So now we have a fund balance use of 603,280. And I'll go through each of those changes with you. And one thing to note is the increase in the budget from the current fiscal year is 746,899, which is a 1.64% increase. But that is being offset by very large decreases that we're making to employee health and workers' comp for claims. If we were to leave the claims and the workers' comp budget the same, the increase would have been 5.6% to the budget. So it's showing as a small increase, but again, it's being offset by very large reductions for claims. So to just recap what we had changed last Monday in the budget, on the Board of Commissioners Department, we reduced the lobbyist position by 50%. So that position or contract would begin on January 1st of 2025. Special appropriations, we removed the transfer out to Two Rivers Gun Range in that we'll be treating it as a government fund. It will not need that supplemental funding. And then also reduce the transfer out up to capital improvements, and that was for vehicle purchases. The tax assessors department, we reduced the travel by about just over 7,000. Facilities, minor operating was reduced by 20,000 and fuel by 5,000. On the EMS budget, we removed the 3 new firefighters position. But again, I think it was the same agreement that with the sheriff that if all the vacancies were filled, then they would be able to come before the board and get those positions in the budget again. But for now, we've removed the new positions that were requested. And also they had requested increases for the paramedics. And I have a detailed slide on that, but what we did to reduce it is the EMS chief and the deputy chief are both paramedics, but predominantly that's not what they do for their position. So we did remove them from that adjusted pay. And also I identified a couple of corrections to what was submitted by EMS. So we were able to reduce their budget by over $427,000. On Public Works, again, we're going to reduce the funding for a new position and fund it so that the position is filled in September. That's $11,000 reduction. And on Planning and Development for the new GIS position, again, that would be funded starting in September. And then again, we changed the gun range rather than an enterprise fund, it'll be accounted for as a government fund. So with all those changes, I won't go through all the revenue that we went through a couple of weeks ago, but with all those changes, we're left with fund balance use of 603,280. And the big question from last Monday was more information on the paramedic pay increase. And at that time, we had estimated 275,000. But again, we went back, removed deputy chief and EMS chief, and also made a couple of corrections to that. So we're left with the general fund, and this actually shows the split where that 275 didn't show the split between the general fund and the unincorporated. So the general fund will increase by almost 212,000 and unincorporated by 25,000. So this is a total increase for all the positions that are paramedics. And I know it was also discussed, like all the hourly versus all the salary, but the battalion chiefs are salaried positions and they are included in that number. So for just additional information, in addition to this slide, you have a summary form. And what that shows you is it's the pay range, the current pay range for the current staff. So this does not include any vacancies. It's just the people that are working there today as, say, an AEMT. Their current pay range is from $52,271 to $54,900. And that's calculated using the regular work schedule, which is 2,756 hours, plus 156 hours of built-in overtime, and also 140 hours of holiday pay. That's how it gets calculated that way. So that would be their current pay just for a regular work year. So the AEMTs are at 52,271 to 54,900. And the adjusted pay would bring them from 54,900 to 57,685. And then the other positions are listed there as well. So that's what they currently are making. And then I went back to the pay scales. So of course, the people that are there, they may have been adjusted for longevity or however the years of service. But if we just went back to the basic pay scales, the AEMTs, the current pay range is 45,156 to 68,710. And the adjusted pay scale would be 47,442 to 72,189. And again, that just lists all the other positions, the AEMT, sergeant, paramedics, lieutenants, captains, and battalion chiefs. So, and this summary slide on the far left, it's showing how many people are currently in each of the positions and the number of vacancies for each of those positions. So the AEMTs, they have currently 5 working. Battalion chiefs, there's 2 that are current, 1 vacant. Captains, 6 that are current. Lieutenants, 7 that are working and 5 vacancies. Paramedics, 1 current and 5 vacancies. The sergeant AEMTs, 1 current. EMS chief is again, and the deputy chief are not included in these calculations. So the middle schedule shows what their current grade is and what the proposed grade would be. So AEMT, battalion chief, captain, and the AEMT sergeant would move up 1 grade, and the lieutenants and paramedics would move up 2 grades. And again, as I stated before, the split on that, the general fund would increase by 211,638 and unincorporated 25,515. Did you have any questions on that?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, sir.
When you're showing us the increases on everything on the salary range there, now is that just one bump or does that include the 2.5% that we give them annually?
This includes, in the budget, we've budgeted for the bump. So for the performance, I guess the step for the performance. So in addition to the adjusted pay, if in 6 months it was their anniversary, they would be still eligible for that 2.5% increase. So it would move them 1 step. So most of these are moving 1 to 2 grades, and the 2.5% would move them 1 step within that grade. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. So again, this calculates out the fund balance use of 603,280. And if I'm projecting that our ending fund balance this year will be about 15 million because we do have some budgeted use of fund balance this year. So if we take that 15 million and we use the fund balance of 603 for the new fiscal year, that would leave us within about 31% of the annual budget. And our policies are to target 25%. We've been running a little bit higher, but this is the reason that you have it is because these things come up. And I think what's happening is this year and last year, we had to use a lot of general fund money to fund capital improvements where normally it would just be for M&O. So by using it for the capital improvements, we're just using more fund balance, but it's not for normal operations. And it's because of the SPOS 8, we have used like for vehicles and equipment and IT, we've already used that money previously in the referendum. So this is just a summary. What I've done is just updated it with the items that you had requested last week. So the new positions would be in general government, project manager, audiovisual engineer, and GIS tech, animal control, 2 part-time kennel techs, code enforcement, a code enforcement officer, EMS training officer, EMA specialist, moving someone from part-time to full-time, and a right-of-way coordinator in public works. Those would be the new funded positions. And the capital improvement fund, we'd be funding it by almost 1.3 million, 1,289,175. And all of that funding comes from the general fund. And this is just a listing of the items and how they're currently in the draft for this work session. And I could go through those if you want. I know we went through them on the first meeting, but why don't I do that? For the update, it would be for public works out of unincorporated, it would be 6 vehicles and a lowboy trailer. Out of SPOS 8 for IT, it would be physical server infrastructure upgrade, network security enhancement, UPS replacement, critical infrastructure, secure time server upgrade, network infrastructure renewal, and technology refresh. And for facilities, out of capital improvements, it would be the annex building renovations, sheriff substation gate, replacing the motor, fire station, city sewer connections, fire station 15 roof replacement, fire station 15 siding, and fire station 16 roof. And then the gateway woodbine roof resealed, and the senior center new carpeting for an expansion. And then for EMS fire, out of capital improvements is some software and hydraulic tools. And the remaining items, the tanker and the 2 pumper trucks out of the unincorporated tax budget. And for the sheriff's office, we have existing leases for vehicles that's being paid for out of ARPA. And then out of capital improvements, computer replacements and patrol laptops, security system for armory, special ops and K9 out of capital improvements. And then for vehicles, there would be 5 vehicles funded out of capital improvements for patrol, and then 1 for jail transports out of jail and staffing, and another 2 to be determined, suggested out of state shared assets. And then the next couple items are out of jail and staffing, which is painting the inside of the jail, a covered trailer for the inmate work detail, and a new mower. And out of SPOS 8, there is an existing leases from probably 4 years ago, and that has another year to go, and that's being funded out of SPOS at $192,000. And then the only other remaining items are for the county library, some items. There is a SPOS 8 line for the library, so these would be some small items that could be funded through that. So some items for inside the library. And then on solid waste authority, the capital purchases are an Aljon compactor, of course, construction of the new cell, hot water pressure washer, a dozer, and some generator replacement. And that's all out of the enterprise fund. And there's nothing out of Two Rivers Gun Range. So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Anybody got any questions for Nancy?
One.
Sure.
The painting the inside of the jail, that's the 50,000 just for the paint itself, the actual
Yes.
inmates are gonna paint it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody got anywhere else they want to cut?
I'm good.
I was going through it and noticed there's several places where we've got money allocated, but we haven't spent it in the last couple of years or very little of it. One of them was, one of the biggest was $30,000 for employee health benefits for the school resource officers. That's $30,000 just sitting there that we haven't spent. But that's one item we could probably get rid of.
Was not being spent.
And it's not that they don't have any health claims. It's just as being part of the general fund, any of their health claims get expensed to the employee health department, which is under Mike. So, but we don't allocate over to the department. So there are health claims. So it's really being budgeted over there. So there is no reason not to take it out of here.
Nancy, on page 5, excuse me, on page 5, general fund summary of major changes, where we see the airport listed at $90,000. Is that a cut, or is that still there?
That's still there.
It's still there. That's there.
Okay, thank you.
And when I say summary of major changes, it's really from the first presentation of these were changes from the current budget.
Yeah.
So that's what that really references.
And you've done a really good job. There's a lot of work in this, I'm sure. And I just want, in reference to the airport, I'm still going to maintain that we have needs other than the airport. And I really have heartburn with even though there's apparently grant money coming in, it's still millions of dollars that it's going to cost us to obtain that. And the cost benefit analysis in my mind does not pay off because we have airports within 30 minutes of us in both directions, several airports, 2 up at Brunswick, 1 at Nassau County, and 1 in North Jacksonville, and 1 in East Jacksonville, Craig Field. The airports are not a priority in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. There's 4 of us that think different from you.
And that's the way it is. And, you know, I'm not going to fall out because of it. It's just my opinion. And you're right to have your opinion is intact, and I'm sure I'll be overruled on it.
Anybody see anywhere else they want to cut?
You're looking, Chairman.
We got $2,000 allocated for furniture for IT. That was for a desk, wasn't it, Louis? That's for the AV engineer.
So, Mr. Folter, what's so special about a desk that it's $2,000? I mean, it may be. Come up to the microphone, please. Thank you.
I mean, we could definitely do a cheaper desk. That was just rough pricing when I was looking around online, for like an L-shaped desk with drawers.
But there's nothing technical about.
No, there's nothing special about it. It was just basically a desk and a chair.
I've been administrator of a 257 bed hospital, and factoring in what it was 40 years ago, what it is now, I never had anything close to that value of a desk.
Okay,
Just an opinion. I mean, it's a
Under-
desk.
understood.
We could get from, City of St. Mary's, the old Sprint.
Yeah, I think they've kind of cut off all of that. We did grab a number of chairs, 10, actually, probably closer to 40, 50 chairs and, several desks and several, little, little stanchions for
Yeah.
documents and stuff. So, I mean, we hit them pretty hard.
Rated them pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. But I think, we can always look at alternatives for desks, to cut costs there. Nancy, I have one question. The county attorney position, is that budgeted on a full year?
Yes, the position is budgeted for a full year and the contract with Mr. Myers is budgeted for 3 months.
So there's overlap,
Yes.
and that makes sense. Thank you.
Training.
I mean, I would prefer to keep that. It's just.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the overlap.
Yeah, the field for county attorneys is just tough right now.
Right.
So just trying to recruit that. I mean, worst case scenario, if we found somebody, we're just gonna have to hire them.
Yeah.
And add it back in later, but
Is his contract through the end of this fiscal year, or is it through 3 months into the?
it'll be, yes, sir, 3 months, 3
Okay.
further months. I mean, his contract's a little longer, but John's, probably gonna be retiring out soon.
I see, okay.
So,
I just wasn't sure if we were having to renew his contract just to fill the gap. But
Yeah, I think if you look at this budget, I mean, in totality, with the health claims, insurance claims, and then you add on the capital needs because of SPOS state not being able to fund those needs. I think in the past, we were only funding capital improvements at the highest at $500,000. And that
I
was,
was going to say about 500,000.
probably 3 years ago. Ever since then, for the last couple of years, it's been over $1 million year after year. So we've more than doubled what general fund is supporting when it comes to capital. And then the 2.5% pay increase for all the county staff, that has a significant impact, as does the split between, fire and EMS. When we did the split this year, it added over $500,000 onto the
Correct.
general fund before we ever even got started.
I think if we cut the budget $1 million, right?
Well over that, closer to,
Closer to 2, isn't it?
probably closer to 3.
Yeah,
It
close
was-
to 3.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1.8 that we were.
It was 1.8 and then we just brought it down another 980,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've made significant cuts while also increasing revenues as conservatively as possible. And at the same time, trying to add additional services based off of all of the strategic plans and priorities projects that you've all outlined. And without trying to cut services elsewhere. A lot of these things are impacting us outside of our control, which is the insurance side of things.
Well, that, and got a lot of capital projects going on right
Right.
now.
I think we've got more capital projects going on right now than I've ever known us to ever have. And some of those we haven't officially really gotten deep into, so there's more coming. I think Nancy mentioned this at the last one, but it's also worthwhile to note that for those of you that have been able to attend the SPOS 9 negotiations with the cities, we're going to be getting some of that excess proceeds back. So this budget is accounting for that money coming back to the county. So, so without that, the fund balance use would be significantly higher, probably, $600,000-700,000 more.
The, travel for the school resource officer, I see it went up to from 3,000 to 12,000. Can you come up here, Nick? I remember we talked something about it, but I don't remember what all that was. Just got the large increase sticks out.
Yeah, we have a couple of new officers that just started that are going to be having to go to new training and new schools. That's the reason.
Thank you.
Always cold in this week.
Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, is it fair game to talk about an impact to the budget that making good on our commitment to look at taking back over the PSA's activities would cause? Any numbers on that?
Well, it's not in the budget. That would be a significant deal, and we'd have to convince the cities to drop out. And so far, none of the cities want to drop out of PSA that I know of.
So the answer is no. Right.
Yeah, but that's why it's not.
Thank you. Thank you for the reason.
Now, we have had some general discussion about doing that. But like I say, the cities would have to withdraw from the PSA for us to pick it up. At least that's my interpretation of the original legislation. Is the original legislation, when the city drops out, the county would pick up that representation.
Right.
So if all the cities dropped out, the county would be 100% control of the PSA.
Now, there would
then-
also, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Please go ahead.
Well, there would just be some other legalities as well, based off of the bonding issues with the PSA. The PSA's floated a number of bonds for different entities in the past, so, there would be some legal questions that would need to, be answered out of that as well, so. I don't necessarily know that the PSA board would ever cease to exist. I think you would probably still have to have that because of those bonds. But as far as just the general operations of recreation, maintenance and oversight, that may be different. But again, that's probably a much deeper and longer conversation between the county and the cities.
And I can appreciate that. And I think that my task is to then take this battle to each of the cities. I can't imagine that any city is really thrilled with what they're getting. I don't think that it's going to be an easy thing, but I know it's not working. And we have to look at doing something.
Do you have
we
any
can-
idea?
We can talk about the PSA another time. We need to stick to doing our budget. That's it.
That's why I asked if it was open season on it. So the answer to that is no. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nancy, do you mind talking about just next steps while they're kind of debating internally, just kind of next steps for budget approval?
I think the debate is over. So, yeah, go ahead.
I just didn't know if while.
Yeah, I don't have the calendar here, but next week I would be at the commissioners meeting presenting a proposed budget. And also it will be advertised in the newspaper next week, just a summary of the budget. And also available to the public on our website. And also we have a hard copy available if someone chose to come up here to look at it. Then we would have a public hearing. And I believe we have and that would be the week before adoption. And we have adoption, I believe it's scheduled for June 20th. It's a Thursday. And the public hearing is held 1 week before that, which is Thursday. So all of that, it'll be advertised, those dates and times in the paper.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is just because there are some state mandated dates that we have to meet as far as, timeliness of the budget and, making sure that the public is aware of the budget before it is adopted.
Anybody got anything else? I want to look at it. Wait 10 more minutes and.
Excuse me,
Did we cut anything else?
Got 30,000.
30,000.
Well, actually a little bit more, 31. Probably leave 1,000 for the desk.
Right.
We're down at 600,000, basically.
It's below 600.
Below 600.
Yeah, below 600.
I will say this, I mean, I don't think anybody really likes the word increase, but I think, with fixed costs and just, personnel, equipment costs, contractual obligations that we have, I mean, increases are gonna happen. But considering that it's under a 2% increase, this is actually the lowest increase I think I've seen, in my tenure here, year to year.
But because it's offset by the,
It's offset by the fund balance, however.
or offset by the significant decreases to the employee. If that wasn't
Right.
happening, it would be a normal increase.
Yeah, we were very fortunate this year on our employee health. We had some good things kind of happen our way on claims, which was good. Otherwise, to Nancy's point, we would be looking at probably a 10%.
Actually,
increase.
almost 6%.
So 6, okay, okay,
6%, yeah,
a little bit better,
yeah, a little bit better.
but it's, I think staff worked really, really hard, but even our constitutional officers did a really good job keeping their budgets, either flat or even in some cases actually reduced portions of their budget.
Yeah, one thing I saw is everybody's electrical budget has gone up.
Postage, yeah, postage was a recurring theme, electrical, in some cases, water and sewer. Salaries, obviously. Contractual agreements that we have with different entities. Some contracts went away, like with the CRC. We're doing addressing now in-house with our newly formed GIS department, which is amazing. They're doing outstanding work. Me and Nancy's gone back and forth on this several times, and I think, depending upon how much further we cut, eventually we're gonna start getting into cutting services. And we're pretty close to that already.
Because the fund balance use really is the capital
Yeah.
equipment.
I think we've done a good job and we didn't have to raise any taxes to get it where we've got it to. Plus, didn't have to use a little fund back.
Be thankful we got it.
Oh, absolutely. I remember the time when there was none.
All right, anybody got anything else?
Good. We need to mention that, I know it has nothing to do with this, but you keep Katie in your prayers, if you pray at night. She just lost her mom. So that's important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next Tuesday, I will have a proposed budget for y'all.
Okay.
Okay.
Nobody's got anything else. We'll close this meeting. Thank y'all.
Thank you.